Hell yeah! Final Fight is brilliant. It was brilliant back when it came out in arcades all the way back in 1989, and it remains brilliant to this day. Welcome to the Videogame Shoebox. The game was originally developed as a sequel to 1987's Street Fighter. However, due to the roaring success of Double Dragon, Capcom opted to change the name and shift development to something that more closely emulated that. This resulted in the Final Fight we know and love today, and also going back to the drawing board for Street Fighter 2, which, if you've been keeping up with previous video game shoeboxes, turns out was a very good thing. The Final Fight series are side-scrolling beat-em-ups in the same style of other world-received games from the era, such as the aforementioned Double Dragon, and of course the Mega Drive Genesis Streets of Rage and Golden Axe. You walk to the right and proceed to punch the living snot out of any and everyone that happens to walk into the scene. Luckily, only bad guys show up, otherwise I can only imagine the litigation that would arise from a couple of guys going on a fighting spree throughout the city. I've seen Civil War, that stuff doesn't end well. You have three characters to choose from: Haggar, Cody, and Guy. Cody, being my boy here on screen, is a fast, scrappy fighter with fast punches, knees to the face, and a cool tornado spin kick. Mike Haggar, a big bruiser of a former professional wrestler with hard punches, a solid dropkick, a killer spilling lariat, and finally an insane spinning pile driver. Guy, however, is a ninja. This is just plain cool. But the SNES home version, which I had, didn't have the space on the cartridge for all three characters, so it was Guy that unfortunately got the chop. They eventually released Final Fight Guy, which replaced Cody with Guy. This is actually not the only difference between the SNES version and the original arcade release. They also removed the ability to play two-player. It was just too much for the console to show more than a few characters on screen at any one time. There are even more differences when looking at different regions copies, but we'll get to those in a bit. Jessica has been kidnapped. It's up to her daddy, Haggar, her boyfriend, Cody, and his friend, Guy, to save her and of course the city from the criminal scum. Guy doesn't have a personal connection with Jessica, but he's a good-hearted soul who just wants to use his lethal weapon-registered body without fear of repercussion. Which is good because Mike Haggar also happens to be the newly elected mayor of this fair city. The mayor is personally going around mopping up crime like some sort of shirtless, mustachioed Batman. If only every city were lucky enough to have Haggar as mayor. The game controls simply enough. Move your chosen fighter up, down, left and right with an attack button and a jump button. Jumping and attacking lets off a diving attack. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but is a cool way to introduce yourself to a room full of bad dudes. Pressing jump and attack at the same time, however, lets off a really cool spinning attack that knocks everyone back that is in close proximity. Really handy when you're surrounded and being pummeled, but be careful. Using this desperation maneuver drains a little bit of your health, regardless of if you hit anyone or not, so don't just whip it out willy-nilly. You can also pick up weapons dropped by enemies such as knives, steel poles, and also swords. I don't see Haggar being able to brush all this under the rug, but hey, if they hit you, hit them back. If they slice you with a massive katana, slice them back! There are a total of 6 stages, each with their own boss. All of the environments offer purely aesthetic differences, although as you progress, your enemies become tougher and tougher as hard mid-bosses start becoming the general fodder the game throws at you. Each with their ridiculous multiple health bars and crazy stupid damage dealing capabilities. If you happen to play the original arcade version before picking up the English localized SNES port, you may have noticed some differences. The first 2 bosses, Damned and Sodom, were renamed Thrasher and Katana respectively. Poison and Roxy, 2 of the first transsexual characters in video games that I can think of, were changed to male enemies Billy and Sid. All references to alcohol were removed from the game, which resulted in 2 health pickups being completely replaced. There is no blood when a bladed weapon is used, darker skinned enemies were given lighter skin tones, and finally the dude that comes out after you've bashed his car to pieces with your bare hands, their bonus stage, has had his voice changed to say, "Oh my car," instead of, "Oh my god." Phew. Nintendo in English-speaking territories has never had a particularly good reputation when modifying games for local release. Whilst I'm sure we could have handled an unaltered version of the game, I still believe that Final Fight was, and still is, a great game. It had its flaws, which were mostly not the game's fault, but it has aged so well. I definitely recommend digging yourself up a copy. It's currently available on iOS and the PS3 and Xbox 360 stores. That's it for now. Tune in for next time for another trip down memory lane as I dust off some more cartridges. Be sure to let me know on Twitter any games that you might like to see on here next time. What's in your video game shoebox?